Hello students, welcome to the another session of Environmental Science. I'm Utkarsh Suryavanshi, Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. In this session, we are going to learn about the desert ecosystem part 3. So let us understand the objectives of this session. First, the components of desert ecosystem. Second, functions of desert ecosystem. Third, 7 continents, 7 deserts. Fourth, adaptation of plant and animals in desert. Fifth, future challenges for desert. And sixth, the summary of the session. So let us understand these objectives in detail. First one, the components of desert ecosystem. As we all know, the different components of desert ecosystem are abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic component. The abiotic component include the nutrients present in the soil and the aerial environment. The characteristic feature of the abiotic component is lack of organic matter in the soil and scarcity of water. Next, biotic component. The various biotic components representing 3 functional groups are further subdivided into producers, consumer and decomposers. First one, producers. The producers are mainly shrubs or bushes, some grasses and a few trees. Surprisingly, there are many species of plants that survive in the desert. Most of them are succulent, which means they can store water. The most famous desert plant is the cactus. There are many species of cacti. Other succulents include the desert rose and the living rock. The strange plant looks like a spiny rock. Its disguise protects it from predators. There are many other kinds of desert plants. Some of them have thorns, others have beautiful flowers and deadly poisons. Even in the worst condition, these plants continue to thrive. Next one, consumers. These include animals such as insects and reptiles. Beside them, some rodents, birds and some mammalian vertebrates are also found. There are plenty of insects in the desert. One of the most common and destructive pests is the locust. A locust is a special type of grasshopper. There are also several species of ants in the desert. Reptiles are some of the most interesting creatures of the desert. Reptiles can withstand the extreme temperatures because they can control their body temperature very easily. Many species of rattlesnakes can be found in the desert. Rattlesnakes have a noisy rattle they use to warn enemies to stay away. The road runner is probably the most well-known desert bird. Roadrunners are so named because they prefer to run rather than fly. There are several species of mammals in the desert. They range in size from few inches to several feet in length. Camels could be included in the mammal section. Camels are the cars of the desert. Without them, people would have great difficulty crossing the hot terrain. Next, decomposers. Due to poor vegetation, the amount of dead organic matter is very less. As a result, the decomposers are very few. The common decomposers are some bacteria and fungi, most of which are thermophile. Next, the functions of desert ecosystem. Desert ecosystem perform a variety of functions that are vital to both the environment and human activities. Here are 8 key functions that a desert ecosystem perform. First, habitat for unique biodiversity, climate regulation, soil formation and stabilization, water filtration and storage, nutrient cycling, provision of natural resources, cultural and recreational value, research and education. Let us understand these functions in detail. First one, habitat for unique biodiversity. Desert provide a home for diverse range of specially adapted plants and animals. Species such as cacti, succulents, reptiles and insects have evolved unique survival strategies to thrive in extreme conditions. Next, climate regulation. Desert play a significant role in regulating Earth's climate. They reflect a substantial amount of solar radiation back into the atmosphere, which influences global temperature patterns and atmospheric circulation. Next, soil formation and stabilization. The weathering of rocks in desert contribute to soil formation. Desert plants, especially those with extensive root system, help in stabilizing the soil, preventing erosion by wind and occasional water flow. Next, water filtration and storage. Desert ecosystem can filter and store water in underground aquifers. Though rainfall is very infrequent, when it does occur, it replenishes these vital groundwater sources. Next, nutrient cycling. Desert participate in nutrient cycling through the decomposition of organic material, albeit at a slower rate than more humid ecosystem. This process recycles nutrient back into the soil, supporting the plant life. Next, provision of natural resources. Deserts are rich in minerals and fossil fuel as well. Many desert regions are important sources of resources such as gold, copper and oil, which are vital for various industries. Cultural and recreational value. Desert holds significant cultural importance for indigenous people and offer recreational opportunities like hiking, camping, and off-road adventures. They also attract tourists with their unique landscape and biodiversity. Research and education. Deserts serve as a natural laboratories for scientific research. They provide opportunities to study extreme environmental conditions, species adaptation, and climate change effects, contributing to understanding of broader ecological and environmental processes. Now let us understand the very popular topic known as 7 continents and 7 deserts. As we all know, there are total 7 continents in the entire world, out of which we have categorized the most popular 7 deserts according to the continent. First one, Africa. Namib Desert, which consists of coastal climate. Antarctica, as the name suggests, cold climate. Asia, the Gobi Desert, which is again a cold desert. Australia, Gibson Desert, which is come under a category called semi-arid desert. Europe, Tabernas Desert, which is again a semi-arid desert. North America, Mojave Desert, which comes under category of hot desert. And South America consists of Atacama Desert, which is a cold desert. Now let us understand each these desert categories in detail from different point of view. Africa, first one, Namib, which is a coastal desert. Geological data suggests that at 43 million years, the Namib Desert in southwestern Africa is the world's oldest desert. It takes up almost half the surface area of Namibia. Its long history and dry environment makes it a perfect searching ground for archaeologists and anthropologists. Next one, Antarctica, which is cold desert. The world's last continent is subject to international treaties that no single country can claim it. There is little precipitation and the snow and ice present has built up over hundreds of thousands of years. Next, we come to the Asia, in which a famous cold desert is known as Gobi. Straddling China and Mongolia, the Gobi Desert is Asia's largest. There are steep and mountains to the north and more desert to the west, plateau and plain to the south. The Gobi is useful for archaeologists as with any desert, but it's also been one of the richest sources of fossil finding for paleontology, including the first evidence of dinosaur eggs. Next, we go to the Australia, in which a semi-arid desert is there known as Gibson Desert. Gibson Desert is considered one of the most interesting because it is largely pristine. It's among the purest desert in the world. Several other notable facts about the Gibson Desert include the belief that it was the home to the last indigenous tribe to contact with Western civilization. Next, we come to the Europe, in which a semi-arid desert known as Tabernas Desert is situated. Spain is home to several deserts, most of them semi-arid, as European climate is simply not hot enough for the kind of hot and dry deserts seen in North Africa and Middle East. Precipitation means it has more abundant biological life than most other deserts. Next, North America, in which a famous desert called Mojave Desert is situated. The Mojave is the most important desert tourist destination in US due to the presence of Las Vegas to the east and organized tourism into the desert interior. The Hoover Dam is within its boundary, preserving water for settlements in the Mojave. Next will be South America, in which a famous cold desert known as Atacama Desert is situated. Atacama is potentially the driest place on earth. Its precipitation is so negligible that it's considered virtually zero. It's possible that part of the Atacama Desert have never experienced rain. The highest peaks have year-round snow cover, which may have been there for decades, have been fallen and never melted away. Due to its aridity and alien environment, the Atacama has been used as location filming for recent Hollywood productions set on Mars. Thyme and saltgrass are abundant in some areas. Next topic which we are going to discuss is the adaptation of plant and animals in desert. First, adaptation of plants and animals in hot deserts. Plant and animals in hot deserts have evolved a variety of adaptation to survive the extreme temperature, arid condition, and scarcity of water. Example of hot desert plant and animals are prickly pear cactus, saguaro cactus, and date palm. Hot desert animals would be camel, fennec fox, and side winter rattlesnakes. Now let us understand the adaptation of plant and animals in cold desert. The organisms in cold desert have adaptation that help them to conserve body heat and escape dehydration due to the cold and dry environment. Example of cold desert plant and animals are such as Arctic willow or Arctic poppy as well. Cold desert animals will be polar bear or mountain goat. Now let us understand the future challenges for the desert. First challenge will be loss of desert through increased precipitation. As more rain falls, as more moisture is returned from melt water runoff, more water passes through any river and lakes that might form seasonally in this desert that will change the environment over the time. The biodiversity is at risk and potentially threatened species could die out in those areas or even become extinct. This is a particular concern for species that exist in just one desert on the planet. Next, increased desertification of other biomes. It becomes difficult for native species to continue to thrive and desertification risk increases. A good example of this is the Dust Bowl, when the Great Plains of central state of the US were hit by over-intense agriculture and natural drought at the same time. Next one will be the politics of conservation. This case with the northern end of the Chihuahua Desert, where efforts to reintroduce bison along the US-Mexico border has met with hostility. Documentary evidence from pre-Columbian people in what is modern Mexico suggests that the bison were common along the borders of desert and the grassland to the north. Next, balancing sustainability against conservation. Deserts have always been center of mining activity. As discussed above, they naturally develop oil and precious metals and gem resources through their unique geology. Now let us summarize the topic. Desert ecosystem consists of abiotic and biotic components. Desert ecosystem plays crucial roles such as providing habitat for unique species, regulating the climate, aiding in soil formation and stabilization, sequestering carbon, filtering and storing water, and cycling nutrients. Each continent hosts a notable deserts. Desert plant and animals exhibit remarkable adaptation. Desert face numerous challenges including climate change, which can exacerbate extreme temperature and alter precipitation pattern. This summary outlines the essential aspect of desert ecosystem, their functions, the prominent desert across continents, the adaptation of desert life, and the challenges they face moving forward. Thank you.